Welcome to Therapize, where licensed professionals talk mental health, make mildly inappropriate jokes, and overshare just enough to keep things interesting. And our license is intact. Brought to you by Full Circle Therapy and Inner Wellness Therapeutic Services, and produced by me, Liz, because I like control, and this was a healthy way to express it. Mel and Barry, they show up for the podcast. That's it. That's the bar. Quick disclaimer, we're real therapists, but this is not real therapy. It's a podcast. If you're looking for actual treatment, we highly recommend making an appointment. Not with us, unless you're in Florida. Then consider this fate. Now, let's get into today's episode.
And welcome back to another episode of Therapize. I'm your host, Mel.
And I'm your other host, Liz.
And I'm your other host, Barry.
Yay! We got him forever.
It's weird to call myself Barry, honestly.
So try, and I'm your host, Will.
Will, yeah.
Will, do you identify as Will?
I do.
In your day-to-day?
Will, William, yeah.
Willie?
No.
Not Billy either, right?
Right, no.
No, not Billy.
That was, childhood me.
Oh.
Long ago.
Billy?
Yeah. Can we move on from this?
You had compliments for us, did you not?
I did. Well, some of the feedback I got was how well recorded this was, like how professional it sounded. And I think credit for that 100%.
It's
goes to
Liz. It goes to Liz. 50%.
I just hope we play the beginning where that was all fucked up.
Barry may or may not have had his microphone backwards, so we couldn't hear him.
But we digress.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get back. Oh, she's bringing us back on topic.
The producer.
Yeah. So I was thinking that I feel like when I lead like this, that's not how it should be.
But I think it should.
But one of the things I was thinking is a lot has happened since the last time we did this, right? It's been about a month and we received a ton of good feedback. Like, I'm overwhelmed by how positively this was all received.
Just on our way to stardom.
Right.
We are.
We have cracked up. I know I have, just from our chat in between, like some of the things that have been said and the joking around. But
every time I open the chat, I'm like cracking up.
Yeah. Me too. Like even today, like just some of it's just. But one of the things you guys said that I thought was important to address is some of the feedback you guys got over the course of the month was that people would want to have an AI therapist.
Yes, we have to readdress that.
Yeah, I think, and I've done a little bit of reading with AI and therapists and ChatGPT because I could be ChatGPT's biggest sponsor.
Fan.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And everything goes back about the judgment if your therapist is judging you. But something that I read that I think is really important to remember is that ChatGPT or any, right, of these AI platforms.
Large language models, I think they're called. Right?
Oh, okay.
LLM. I kept reading that when I was trying to do a tiny bit of research for this episode.
Oh, I didn't even know that's what it was called.
That they're
large language models.
Yeah, they're geared to agree with you.
Yeah.
They will agree with you. And I kind of started testing that theory out a little bit, like when I was in my own ChatGPT asking it questions. And largely, it will agree with me.
Yeah. I actually, I learned this the other day. First, I want to say that I was wrong in the last podcast. 75% of my children listen to the podcast.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Like,
so we only have one straggler?
Right.
Which one is it? Do you
youngest one, he replied, I think I sent this to you.
Oh,
guys.
you did?
He replied, I don't listen to podcasts. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe if we talk about hockey?
Maybe.
And Taylor Swift?
I don't know if he'll even listen to a hockey podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there's hockey podcasts out there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Spitting Chicklets is one of them because they all
that's
lose
really
their
funny.
teeth.
I got it.
But so 3 of them listened to it. So what happened was one of my sons who had listened to the podcast sent me an article where ChatGPT or one of the other large language models or whatever they're called had a guy had I don't know if it was fake, like the guy was fake or if it was a real person. I think his name was Pedro.
Mm-hmm.
And he drove a cab and he was like, I'm so tired. I'm in recovery from meth, right? He does meth. He's in recovery from meth. And he is like, I'm really tired. I'm afraid I might lose my job. And ChatGPT or whichever it was like, I think you can do a little meth to protect your job.
I saw this same exact article.
Was that true?
Yes, I saw this article. Like this, I saw the same article that your son saw, and it's the whole thing about ChatGPT agreeing with you. And I think
Yeah.
something that comes up with my clients a lot is because, well, with the types of clients that I see, a lot of them have truly a phobia of getting better. And that's something like my client says all the time. Like when I try to I work a lot with clients who have dissociative identity disorder that used to be called multiple personality disorders back in the day. And a large part of their alters and parts or other personalities have a phobia of getting better. And I think people, when they're so scared about my therapist judging me, I think that also comes with that phobia too.
Right. I mean, I made some notes. That's what you see me looking at. I'm
Yeah.
not like answering
You're not
texts or anything.
just ignoring me. It's okay.
Right. No, I was listening to you and I was
kidding.
checking off what
Yes.
we've covered
Uh-huh.
Oh,
so that we stay on
you're
topic.
keeping us organized.
Right. Well, I'm trying to keep me organized. But one of the goals of these AI is to have you keep using it, right? Like they want, like
Oh.
Instagram wants to
Yeah.
keep you on Instagram and Facebook wants to keep you on Facebook.
It's a business.
So part of it is pleasing you so
Mhm.
you keep using it. Like the way I wrote it was pandering to the person, which you kind of covered, like doing what the person want, like telling them what they want to hear.
Mhm.
And I think what we need to address is
Yes.
therapists, we don't do that, right?
Mm-mm.
Like we're I mean, it's our job to be a little more challenging, like better friends than just someone that's a yes man.
Exactly. And I
So-
think that's where it comes from, why people think, oh, my therapist is judging me. But no, not necessarily. Your therapist is going to tell you the things and not going to agree with you all the time. And maybe that can come off as judgmental. But I think that's what I have a hard time with when people are like, oh, they're like, my therapist is judging me. And when I say, no, we're not. People
But I think
understand.
the main thing that came in the feedback from last session was more about the people that were not in therapy. So individuals that are not in therapy and are afraid to go into therapy or don't like the idea of therapy because they feel like maybe the therapist will judge them. Because that feedback wasn't from people that were in therapy. So my whole thing about it is that I think the piece that they're missing, people that aren't in therapy, is the relationship and the rapport that we have to build with our clients at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you feel judged day one, like you're out of there, you're going to ghost them.
Yeah,
Right.
that's my specialty.
Yeah.
I haven't ghosted my current therapist just yet.
No, not yet.
my this actually came up in my class the other night because like I was sharing, we were talking about schizophrenia was the topic. It was my psychopathology class. And I was talking about, we all hear voices in our heads. And earlier in the day, a student had asked me, or earlier in the class, what is my real personality? Like because I had kind of said, this is how I am in class. I'm not this way in therapy, right? Like I'm not trying to entertain you in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Where in class I'm trying to educate. It's one of my previous mentors called it edutainment, right? And
funny.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to be entertaining and educational, but not in therapy. That's not as important, or it's not as big a role. And I was talking about some of my dark thoughts I have about a neighbor I don't like, and like murdering her basically, but I'd never do it, but it's just dark thoughts. Like, do you want the graphic details? Like,
Yeah.
she lives on the other wall and I hear her like scream. Like, part of the reason I don't like her, I think, is because she's like this little old lady that's like trying to be like, she's so meek and like, oh, can you help me with this? Or, oh, I do this. Yet she's just, I don't know, like throwing her will around the place all the time.
Like a Karen?
Like if it's raining, she parks in a spot that's not hers. Like we all have assigned parking, right? Because she's lost cars and floods. Like our area floods, I
Yeah.
get it. But it's still, you can't just make it inconvenient for everyone else. And I think the biggest thing is I hear her in her apartment
This
because
little old
because
lady, what is she doing?
she's like yelling at people at like 11 o'clock at night on the phone
Oh,
because she lives alone.
Does she live?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she lives alone. I've seen visitors come. I assume her kids and her grandkids maybe. But anyhow, she's like yelling at them, and I'm like, "You're not some meek old lady. You're phony." You know what I mean? Like you're a
like
bitch.
she's mean, like a
I
bitch. Oh, like
think, yeah, I
yeah.
said bitch. I don't mean to say that, but yeah, like I don't like her. This is the point. And I do have evil thoughts, like while she's yelling at her
This is
kids.
like
Like,
how
stop
we're.
yelling at your kids all the
This is
fucking
how
time.
we're so
Like they're grown.
similar.
They're not little kids. Like they're grown. They have kids of their own, right?
Yeah.
Like what do you yell? I mean, she could be yelling at someone else, but who? At 11 o'clock at night, who are you yelling at? It's got to be family.
Maybe
On the phone?
maybe
Who are you
she's
yelling
maybe
at on
she's
the phone?
schizophrenic.
No, she's not. She's not. But I was talking about my dark thoughts and then
Yes.
how I don't pay attention. Like I hear them and I laugh at
Mhm.
Yeah.
them. And then I'll also have thoughts like, dude, you are so evil. What is
Mhm.
wrong with you?
Mhm.
Like I'll have the dark thought about her, then I'll have the thought about how evil I am. And I'm just laughing most of the time, but that's not schizophrenia.
No,
Right?
that's just
Like,
your internal dialogue.
right. It's internal dialogue.
Mhm.
And so a student having heard that and heard me judging my neighbor,
Mhm.
perhaps, right, said, do I ever judge clients?
Mhm.
Right? Like,
Mhm.
are you going to tell me you never judge a client? And the truth is, like, I think it's natural for humans to have a judging voice in their head. Like
Mhm.
it's part of
Yes.
evolution. We had to decide, are these people helpful or are they going to hurt
To
us?
survive.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was part of survival. So, yeah, I have a judging thought, but I don't ever let that impact my relationship with the client, right? Like it occurs.
Uh-huh.
And the main thing is, and this is kind of how I ended the conversation with her, is that I'm on the client's side.
Right.
Like 100% I'm on the client's side. I'm not on my neighbor's side. I don't care what happens to her. And that makes me a horrible human being or whatever it does. But I don't like her. Right?
Exactly.
Like I don't like her. So I don't care. But my clients, I care, right? Like
Right.
we've
Mhm.
created a relationship and I'm on their side.
Exactly.
For sure, clients have said to me, because I'll smirk. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed I smirk. And my
Mhm.
mom, like I said this in class the other day too, my mom used to be like, I will wipe that smirk off your face, right? And
Mhm.
Mhm.
she never did because here I am still smirking. So I feel that, you know, there is a client or two that when they say something, I smirk a little bit. And sometimes it's because I see that they're enacting a pattern I've
Yeah.
already pointed out. And
Mhm.
it's kind of like a proud, like
Mhm.
it's an instantaneous thing
Yeah.
where we're more, it's probably more I'm smirking because I was right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know that that's a judgment. And I think like one of you said, our client, like people that are in therapy with us, I don't think they really feel judged by
Yeah,
us, or
exactly.
No, I don't think
they
so.
wouldn't be in therapy with
They
us.
would leave us very
Yeah.
quickly. And I also think like what you were saying about like sometimes we could have a thought. And even if it's with a client, a lot of times is more about us than it is about the client. Sometimes our clients do trigger something out of
Mhm.
us. Maybe they said something about their mom or dad or partner, and it kind of reminded us. Countertransference, or
Mm,
is it
Right.
transference?
Countertransference.
Countertransference.
Right.
And a lot of times, I mean, at least like it's happened to me and I'll think about it. I'm like, oh, that was a me thing. Like, and it was just a fleeting thought, right? That maybe can like come and go quickly, but it wasn't me judging the client. It was like, oh, wait, like that was me.
Mhm.
Actually.
Yeah, and we're supposed to be trained in that. Like
And-
we have
Right.
whole classes on countertransference.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and the whole point of it is to not put your judgments into the session
Mhm.
Right.
and
And
onto your client. Yeah.
But in
and-
order to do that, you have to be aware of them.
Exactly.
So you have to hear your judgment,
Yes.
but not allow it to
and be
affect.
aware. And I've
Yeah.
actually had this conversation with like family members before and things that I can truly talk to someone who can believe absolutely something that I do not agree with or whatever it is, and I could listen and it will like and I could be like, okay, like, and it does
Yeah,
not
and see it from their
and
point of view. Yeah.
exactly, and see it from their point of view, even if I still am like, oh, I don't necessarily agree with that. I absolutely can be like, but I got you and I understand where you're coming from and that doesn't affect me like
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah, I feel like I had to get really, really good at that working with couples
Mm-hmm.
because they're giving their side of the story and their own opinions, and you have to try to be as neutral as you can and but still be therapeutic. And sometimes one partner is not right, in
Yeah.
like certain things. But it's about the relationship that I built with both of them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then comes in like, if you're gonna confront certain things, but it's about the relationship. You can't be confrontational with your client if there's no relationship.
Right.
And I think that's the part that maybe people that aren't in therapy aren't understanding.
And that's what these AIs will not give you, and what
Mhm.
you won't get with it. Do I
The
think
relationship
it's
of a human.
Yeah, like it's a great tool. I do think it's absolutely a great tool. If I am really overwhelmed and I need like just advice of like maybe like how to do something, instructions, because in therapy we can't tell you what to do. We don't give you advice.
Mhm.
But if I want to use ChatGPT to be like give me instructions and then I'll take what I want from it, yeah, I'll do it for that. But I don't think it can actually replace a human therapist.
Not yet.
Mhm.
Not yet.
Okay,
It
but
seems to
then
be a ways off.
but
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to go off topic and our listeners are going to get mad at me. But
Right.
maybe, forgive me. How do you think somebody who is in substance facility use, right? How could they use an AI therapist? How would the AI know that they're not in danger or now I'm at a loss of words.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm trying to say?
I think it's a valid point, and I don't think it's anywhere on the near horizon, right? AI therapy, but I don't think it's I don't know. I don't think it's like impossible. I think we will get there. It's
Like, are you saying like these robots that like look human?
yeah, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. That was the argument I made last
Right.
But what if it like just
podcast.
starts to glitch? Like my computer turns off. It's a
Yeah, but
computer.
I know, but here's the thing that I've read, right?
Okay.
And regarding like self-driving cars.
Fine.
They make less errors than
Yeah.
humans, but we trust humans more. Like we would rather have a human driver because we expect perfection from them. So chances are by the time AI therapy is like a real thing really happening, if it happens, like who knows, right? I do believe and some of the stuff I read preparing for this, like
Mhm.
again, tiny bit of research, like not enough. But it did suggest that the human connection is the most important thing, and we know that.
We
Right.
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
my
Mhm.
Yeah, we
soapbox.
learned that. So until it can bring that, but I feel like you got to look at these generations coming up.
Mhm.
They're growing up with AI. You know what I mean? They're going to be more comfortable with it and more trusting of it. And,
But then I even have a bigger problem with it then. And that point that you brought up with like even now the generations that have grown up with social media and grown up with like the iPads, not saying there's anything wrong with iPad kids because if I'm at a restaurant, my kid is watching Bluey. Sorry, I'm
Mhm.
gonna eat for 30 minutes. But anyways, I think, but what I don't agree with, I've had clients when I used to see teenagers who were absolutely petrified of ordering Starbucks or ordering at a
Yeah.
restaurant. And then, so what is like, what are we going to keep on like evolving to that now, like,
Right.
we can't talk to each other. Like
Yeah.
like,
That's a big problem.
mhm.
I agree with you 100%. Like I've seen, and I think, there's a psychologist that I've heard on a couple podcasts. I read one of his older books, Jonathan Haidt, I think is how he says his last name. And he wrote about that. I think I said this maybe last podcast, but his argument is ever since smartphones became a thing, teenage anxiety, teenage suicide,
Yeah.
teenage
Absolutely.
depression has all risen. So, yeah, I think you're right. Like for every advancement,
Right.
there's costs. And
Mhm.
I read a book a long time ago called Sapiens about like the
Yeah.
history of Homo sapiens,
Mhm.
and he makes the point that ever since the farming age, we've been inventing things to save us time, yet we feel busier than we ever have. Like, how do you explain that? Like,
Yeah,
we don't
that's
have to
true.
hand wash our clothes anymore. We don't have to like sweep floors and beat the rug. And
Mhm.
you know what I mean? We have all
Yeah, yeah.
these modern conveniences, yet we have less time. And his, I don't know, his argument, his observation is, that's just like, my feeling is that's just going to keep happening.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is. That's inevitable.
Mhm.
The other, a student, when I had mentioned we were going to talk about AI, wanted me to talk about, actually, all right, let me go with that. She said, and this kind of relates to what you said,
Mhm.
Liz, about anti-intellectualism. And I saw an article about this also, where basically the article I read was in Psychology Today magazine. It
Mhm.
was on AI
Mhm.
and adjusting to AI. Like, I'm very slow to adjust to new technology. I still haven't used
Mhm.
ChatGPT or whatever AI is on my phone is pretty much what happens. And when I say on my phone, like, it came with it. Like, I haven't
You did not download
downloaded
anything.
anything. Like, Google sometimes says
Yeah, at
AI
the top.
generated
Yeah.
answer or whatever.
Is that
right?
resistance?
I think I've just always been that way. When CDs came out, I was like, "Fuck CDs," you know what I mean? Like,
Are
I'm
you showing your age?
yeah, kind of.
CDs.
Oh, I'm so old. It's not that I'm resistant. I'm just slow to adapt until I'm okay doing things the way I do them. So
Okay.
I don't.
You're
I
comfortable.
haven't felt a need
It
to
was
have.
yeah.
I write my own emails. I don't need ChatGPT to write my emails for me.
Yeah, it
Maybe
was
I should, because I am a little, like, people are like, your students will email me and they'll be like, "I'm not coming to class today because I'm so sick, blah, blah, blah." And I used to just write, "Okay." Right? And they're like, "That's so cold." So now I force myself to write "feel better." After every email, I'm like, "Feel better."
okay, feel better.
Okay, feel better.
Would you notice if a student wasn't in class?
No.
Like-
I mean, if their name gets called and they're called absent, they lose points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do you take attendance in every class?
I take a little bit of attendance in every class, but this is not on topic.
I know,
So
but
the
It's so
anti-intellectualism,
interesting to us.
but yeah,
the anti, what, how I run class?
yeah, well, some aspects of it.
Well, yeah, I take roll randomly. Like, they pick a number between 1 and however many students are in the class, and
I remember
I
that.
change the number every class. Like, it's a spreadsheet. I just move the
Yeah,
numbers
yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That's cool.
but back to anti-intellectualism, what the article that I was reading talked about how we never have to say "I don't know" anymore. We never have to think about anything anymore.
That's
We
true.
Google it
Oh my god.
and we have the answer. And the article was making the point that, like, Albert Einstein had to wrestle with
his
thoughts.
mind.
Yeah, like, and we're not doing that anymore. And what is that gonna lead
We're
to?
stupid.
Yeah, we're gonna end up being like, I don't know. Like,
I feel
think
like
there is the risk that we're gonna get dumber and dumber, and AI is gonna get. Do you ever see that movie? There's a fun
But
movie about that.
would you say we are dumber now than other generations before us? Like, actually, statistically speaking, is our IQ
IQ?
lower than it was 20 years ago?
You can't really use IQ from a different
Like a-
generation in this generation, because it's measured by peers,
Mm,
right? Like,
mhm.
it's in comparison to my peers. I think I'm not someone that does testing, but
Mhm.
I
but
think
I'd like to think that
we're smarter.
that it makes us smarter.
Oh, I think we have more information available, but we aren't
maybe not
as
smarter.
intelligent.
Like, we just know a lot of facts.
Yeah, we know more
because
we
my
can.
kids will ask me something in the car, and if I don't know it, like, I'll literally look it up,
Mhm.
not while driving. And I just said car because I remember one of the kids asked me something while I was driving, and I later looked it up, and I gave them, like, the answer to their question. So I don't know. I feel like they're gonna
Yeah.
grow up and know, like, all these things that maybe I didn't
Yeah.
know.
But I
don't know.
think the concern is we're not using our brains. Like, we're not sitting with problems.
Mhm.
We're getting an answer and going with it.
Yeah, that's true.
You'll have to.
But
I
then,
snapped my fingers.
do you
so you'll
think
have to edit that
we're
out.
still do you think we still don't think critically?
Yeah, I think that's the argument.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the student, when she was talking to me, is we're losing the capacity
To critically
for critical
think.
thinking, and some of it is our algorithms tell us what we want to hear. We
Mhm.
Right.
get one side of the story. We
Well,
buy into the
confirmation
one-
bias.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're just seeing what we want to see.
Yeah, because you can look up anything and
Yeah.
find an article to support it.
Right.
Right.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
Yes. The only other thing I missed on my list, which we related to AI, was I think you sent it. You sent the article, or I don't want to say it was a TikTok, because when my students say that, I want to lose my mind. Like, I saw on a TikTok.
I used to say I read something and then I was honest
Yeah.
with myself, and it was that I saw TikTok.
That's why I was about to say I read the article, but I'm pretty sure it was a video that
It was a reel.
one of you sent in.
I think it was me.
On
It was me.
Instagram, and it had to do with marriage.
Oh, no,
people in
not me.
couples counseling believing they used AI for couples counseling, and people generally like the AI therapist better than the real therapist, especially, it said, if they thought the AI therapist was the real therapist.
No, wait, I didn't send that.
That wasn't
sounds
us.
So interesting.
I'm pretty sure it was you guys.
Mm.
I mean, we can fact check after.
Okay.
the episode.
But they liked what the AI
Yeah,
therapist
they
said
felt
better.
They felt
Because it probably agreed with them.
but it's couples therapy. So usually, I mean, my experience when people go to couples therapy is it's because one thinks they're more right than the other one.
Yeah.
And they want the
Yes.
therapist to say, see, you know what I mean?
So and so is right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and so is right. And then they get to be like, see, I told you. Yeah.
But maybe it's because AI just has like a way with the words.
Yeah. And it does, right?
Because it doesn't
Yeah,
have
it does.
real emotion in it.
And I do feel like I have noticed a lot that my AI has started to pick up my own language. Like even how like I talk, the response, like it sounds like me.
Yeah.
Like it has learned.
Because we like people that are most like us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be Terminator soon.
Mm.
Do you know that movie?
Yes, we
Yes.
know. I
Oh,
saw
all
that
right.
movie.
The way you just
I don't know
sat
if
there,
I
was
sat
like-
there like
I
depressed.
sat there
that we were going to be in the
in-
Terminator.
it was supposed to be a joke. You guys
I'm
are
really
like-
serious.
You guys are like, oh my goodness,
Doom.
Barry's so smart and he's predicting Terminator.
Existential crisis. We're all gonna die. Death
Right.
again.
Mel went
Death
into it. Mel went-
again.
Death.
Yeah, Mel went into her death.
I did.
Death look.
Well, the part in Terminator that came up was like the one where like there's like a bunch of shooting or something and all the
Yeah.
wires are like hanging out. Right?
Yeah,
There's like a part like that.
I don't know.
You don't? Did you
don't
see the
watch-
movie?
Have
Of
you never
course,
seen
but not
Terminator?
all of them.
Well, like like
The main movie, even I know.
Yeah, Terminator.
Like the one.
Of course, I saw.
whatever.
it
I
as
thought
kid.
of the death
My
scene.
kids used to watch it as children.
No, we used to watch
was a
Austin
bad
Powers.
parent. Yeah.
That was ours. Our dad
Wow, that's even worse.
would play Austin Powers for us.
That's even worse.
That's like I think his favorite movie,
No, actually, my dad's favorite movie, and he is okay if I say that, is The Princess Diaries.
Princess Diaries.
I don't have any words.
He also really likes Dumb and Dumber, but
Yeah, but he would say, if I were to call my dad right now and say, Papi, what's your favorite movie? He would say Princess Diaries.
Okay.
okay.
Anyways.
Super fun fact that we all needed to know.
All right. Good.
Okay,
I'm a
so
little uncomfortable now. Were there questions that
Yes.
related to AI? I don't know what to say.
It's fine. Were there questions?
Weren't there questions
what do
related
you
to
mean?
AI?
Were there
I think-
questions?
Yes, I'm going.
I think
I'm
one.
going.
Should we say who wrote them? Like, or should we use their
I think we're-
Instagram handle?
Yeah, because
Natscam,
yeah.
I think it is. Asked.
Wait, but I
have we
think
ever
it's
been wrong about a client?
Wait, but that's not AI.
but I think it's
That's not an AI one. I'm pretty sure
Yes.
that was an AI joke.
Yes,
Oh,
it is. Yes,
it
it
was.
is.
Oh, I'm sorry. But okay.
okay. You lost your chance. Give me this.
Wow. That's a family dynamic right there
It's
that
a
could be
Big
explored.
sister, little sister
Yeah.
thing. And we're gonna have to go
Like-
back to couples
Like
therapy.
you're not allowed to do it anymore.
She took it away from me.
All right.
Yeah, I took it away from you because you're okay. Anyway.
It was. Were you ever wrong with a client?
But wait, I think we need to
Oh,
like
okay.
introduce this first. Where
Alright, my bad.
last time when we
Delete
did
it.
questions, we only had 2 questions, And-
Oh yeah.
and we were
That was-
joking.
It's so important
I
to bring that
know.
up. Thank you, Mel.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So last time we were joking that we only had 2 questions, and we were like, "Oh, we
Wah,
should."
wah.
Oh yeah. Okay, wait. That we only had 2 questions.
Oh boy.
That's great. And so we were joking that we were going to lie and say, oh, we had so many questions and we only had time for 2. But this time we don't have to lie because we actually got 12 questions.
But we only have time for 2.
And we really only have time for 2. Look at the growth in one
Stardom.
the
Road to
1
fame.
month.
the trust for therapists just dropped significantly because last podcast we were like,
Lying.
you should have said you only have time for 2, and now today we're like, but we only have time for 2, but we got 12 questions.
It was 12. All right. So our first question that's AI related ish.
Yeah, we're working these in because
Mhm.
they didn't know what we were going to be talking about. So we're just kind of picking questions that related to the topic we wanted to cover because we're
Right.
trying to keep this under an hour, right?
We are.
We are.
Yeah, we're doing good.
Okay.
Okay. So the question was from Natscam. And it's, have you ever realized you were wrong about a client and what changed your mind?
Mm.
So the way that I interpreted the question that relates to AI and feeling like you're judged or like you're judging
Mhm.
your client is that maybe you had some sort of judgment about the client, and throughout the therapy, your mind was changed, or you changed your mind about them. That's how I was interpreting it, but I think Barry interpreted it a different way.
Did I? I don't know.
What
I
do you
think
I feel like that was pretty spot on. For
I
me.
interpreted also about like diagnosing.
Oh yeah. We talked.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like maybe you thought
Like we thought
Misdiagnosed.
one
Yeah.
diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
We thought one diagnosis,
And then really it
but
was.
realized it was another. I think for me, in related to that, Liz,
Mhm.
I think the biggest way I do that is I'm not really into diagnosing. So a
Ooh,
client,
that's feminist orientation,
Is it?
theoretical.
I'm just not like
Yeah.
I don't take insurance, so I don't have to diagnose.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Yeah.
part of what I have
Right.
to do. So sometimes a client will come in and they'll be like, "Oh, I have borderline personality disorder," and I'll like after a couple sessions, I'm like, "I don't think you have that. Like
Yeah.
it's overdiagnosed with
Mhm.
women." And then later I find out I was wrong.
Yeah.
They do have borderline personality.
I feel like that's a big one.
Sometimes
Yeah.
that happens. They come in thinking they have a diagnosis. I don't see it, and then I
Mhm.
do see it later because as they get more comfortable, behaviors come
Yeah.
out. And that, I guess that answers the why part, at
Mhm.
least for this part, right? Why or what happened. Generally what happens is they become more comfortable.
Mhm.
I see like it's
Right.
a longer period of time.
Do you address it?
Their symptomatology
No, do you address maybe like in
that
the
I was
beginning?
wrong.
Yeah, that you were
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'll be like, maybe
Mhm.
that was an accurate
Mhm.
diagnosis. You know what I mean? Or I don't know. Like that's a good question. I think I have definitely. There was a client I had, I think probably had bipolar disorder with psychotic features, and I
Mhm.
didn't see it at
Mhm.
all. And then she became psychotic, and
Mhm.
obviously, I don't think I had to admit I was wrong at that point.
Mhm.
It was obvious I was wrong. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, actually, this kind of goes into like a smidge of like another question that I didn't think would be related to AI, but I guess we're working it in here. Is that I've had quite a few, when I say quite a few, like maybe in the last few years, there's been like 3 clients that come in presenting with psychotic features. And I really go into are we going to do like a schizophrenia? Like what's happening here? And then it's ended up being drug induced psychosis from psychedelics. That's like been really popular lately. And so I guess there I was like wrong for a second. And then all of a sudden it like hits you, like you're in session and you're, doing session. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is not what I thought. And it's been drug induced psychosis. So yeah, that kind of.
And that related to the question about what are our thoughts on hallucinations?
Oh yeah, there was a question.
So there was a question from.
Wait, we have to say the
handle.
The handle. It has the handle.
Don't you know your husband's handle?
I know.
I was gonna leave.
Edster19. Edster19 said, talk about psychedelics.
How do you feel about psychedelics?
So what are your thoughts on psychedelics then, Mel?
So I went down like a huge rabbit hole on psychedelics when I had all these clients that were coming in for therapy after the journeys. And I was super into it at first because we were getting so deep in therapy. I'm going to say a few sessions were very psychoanalytical, and I absolutely love that. I do more of a like psychodynamic approach, but it was deep, and it was going like way back to the past and your childhood, and I love doing that. And I was like, wow, yeah, this is great. But what happens is that it's so great that then the clients want to keep going deeper. So they start doing the journeys more consistently. And where really you're supposed to like maybe once in a lifetime if you're going to go down like the whole journey route. And so one particular client really enjoyed how deep our sessions were. So they started doing it more frequently. And I want to say they did it like 3 times in a span of maybe 2 months. And it induced a drug-induced psychosis. And it was actually really sad to watch. So we had to, we had the psychiatrist involved and all that. And
do they have to remain on antipsychotics?
Yeah, sometimes they may have to remain on antipsychotics for the rest of their lives. So my feelings on it are it could be amazing if it's done properly and if you don't like become, I don't want to say like addicted, but it's like they're going.
I mean, most people don't become addicted. Like it's like 1.1% of the population becomes addicted to those types of hallucinogens. Like PCP is different. It's a little higher. It's like 3 out of 1,000, and the ones like mushrooms and LSD are like 1 out of 1,000. So it's really low addiction. But what were your thoughts?
I have a big argument about this because of who I work with now and the kind of therapy I do. So ever since I started working with dissociative patients, I've had to forget completely how to do therapy, how I was taught in school. So something that my mentor, Dr. Barnhill, has taught me is I can do all of that without my client be on a drug-induced journey, whatever we're going to call it, right? And I absolutely agree with him. And I can do that without, it's about going into the unconscious and your subconscious. And I have been taught, and I do know like now how to do that in therapy and how to even get clients to really go into their subconscious. So I'm totally against it. I feel like with the psychedelics, I don't think we need it. I don't think you need it to do that kind of therapy. I just think a lot of therapists are trained on how to do therapy when we're in grad school in a certain way. And a lot of us, once you learn how to do something, you kind of get stuck in your ways, even though technically you should always be learning. But I don't think it's necessary. I think there's so many more risks, especially, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong with this, but if you do have a family history, right, of schizophrenia or other more severe psychiatric diagnosis, you have a higher risk of going into a drug-induced psychosis with doing these kinds of drugs. So I don't think the risk is worth it when really you're just not with the right therapist, in my opinion. Maybe that's like an unpopular opinion, but
you also started to answer another question, which was how has your therapeutic
changed.
approach changed over the years?
Yeah, mine has changed dramatically because working with dissociative clients, if I were to try to throw a CBT skill at a client who is telling me their alter thinks that's the stupidest thing in the world, they're just gonna laugh at me, quite literally.
I'm more on Mel's. If this is a continuum between you and Mel, like I would probably fall closer to Mel's, I think.
But I'm scared of drugs because of your class, because of you. I'm scared because of you.
That's really a shame because I try. Because actually, one of the first times I taught it, a girl came up who had never done a drug in her life, came up after the class was all over at the end of the semester, and she's like, Professor Berry, you've convinced me to do drugs.
I have told clients the story that you said in 2018 when you had a client who did like something LSD or who whatever it
Okay.
possibly was, not important, but and that they got into a drug-induced psychosis
Right.
and was knocking on the wrong door. Like,
Yes. I still use that example, by the
you've
way.
been doing it for quite a while.
And yeah, I like I was saying, I'm probably more on the Mel's side of the continuum, but I wasn't trying to scare people not to do drugs. I think they have to be done responsibly. And I
Right.
think
I think I'm pretty easily
Right.
scared.
I think
so.
hallucinogens, it was LSD. I believe he's going to be taking antipsychotics the rest of his life because he had a psychotic break because of taking too much LSD. And I've seen that happen a number of times. I've seen people take too much mushrooms, and some of the things they believe on the journey they carry into reality, which aren't true. Like
That's exactly what happened with my client.
Yeah, he had believed he died from the overdose and that he was now living in an alternate reality. And the only way, like a big way that I helped him was Rick and Morty, believe it or not. Like,
Okay.
I'm not sounding like the best therapist
That's
in the
okay.
world right now, but
that
like Rick and Morty
that's what
ruin
makes it
worlds,
so
right?
good.
They ruin worlds and they go into another one. And he felt like that's what had happened. He would not believe he hadn't died. So I just embraced the delusion, I guess, and was like, this is where you are, and this is all good. It's almost the same as the other reality. You know what I mean? So you're good. That can happen, but I also listen to other podcasts that talk about the beneficial uses. And I think in a controlled way, it's on my bucket list. I also agree with what you said, Liz, that there's other ways to get there. And I'm trying the other ways. Like, I think mindfulness is a way to get some of these insights. And so, yeah, it's on my bucket list. I don't know if I'll ever get to it. I'm not someone who's done hallucinogens, but I might at some point, because I do want to be a better person. I want to not hate my neighbor so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just do it once and don't do it again.
but
too
bad
close
things
to
can
it,
happen for
please.
once,
Yeah,
right?
but even once
There's ways
something
to
could
do it.
happen.
No, I agree, but I'm saying if you're going to be like
I think
into it,
Or maybe like say no to drugs.
I think part of the problem with younger generation is they're doing it just for the fun of it rather than to gain an insight. And I think when it's done with a more, I want to,
but that's what happened with my client, a very mature adult. And the problem there was that they said that everyone that was in the journey was coming up to them saying that they were God, that they were the Messiah. And it happened, I think, twice in 2 of the journeys, and they started to believe that. So then when they started coming to session, I remember the first session being, okay, I'm going to follow this like theoretically. And when it was totally in my face that they really believed that they were the Messiah. And that's when I was, oh my goodness, we're deep down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. Do we want to address the question that Liz kind of addressed about how our therapeutic approach has changed?
Yeah.
Do we want to?
Yes.
Who asked that question?
It was Nat.
Nat's Cam.
I think I answered mine. I don't know if I need to elaborate.
I think you did.
Yeah, I answered mine.
So I said that mine has not changed. And I think that it's because when I became a therapist was right after or during, well, not when I became a therapist. No. When I became licensed was very soon into my divorce. And that changed me. And so maybe the therapist that I would have been had I not been divorced would have been a different one. But because it happened so close to it, I specialized in couples therapy right away after the divorce. And I got into private practice like at that time. I think that was the biggest thing. Because before that, I was working with kids and in the foster care system and all that. So when I found my specialty, it was basically because of my divorce. And my approach hasn't changed since then. So for the last, I would say 12 years, my approach has been pretty consistent in the psychodynamic, solution-focused way that I do couples therapy.
I think I've changed a lot, but I've been in the field like 30 years. So, I started out in drug and alcohol treatment. I started out very cognitive behavioral, very confrontational. I hear I'm still pretty confrontational. That's what I hear from some clients. And even though I don't work drug and alcohol primarily anymore, it is part of my practice, but not exclusively. I think as mindfulness became more and more popular, I was already into mindfulness, but seeing its application in therapy, I embraced that. Also, I started out very CBT. Like it's kind of easy.
It's easy.
Like
yeah.
once you learn it, you get the hang of it. All the CBT therapists are going to be upset right now, and I still use CBT.
Yeah,
I don't want to diminish it too much, but I think sometimes it's a Band-Aid and we're not
Absolutely.
getting deep enough.
Right.
So I feel like therapeutically, I've become much more existential and a little psychodynamic, not all the way, but some. Like I can't deny its influence.
Right.
So yeah, I think I've gotten deeper. Like, you learn a skill in school and you're kind of scared to be a therapist, right?
Yeah.
And this one's easy and you just apply that to everything. I was trying to apply it to schizophrenia and it wasn't very
That's
effective.
not gonna work.
Right. This is like so many years ago.
Yeah.
Work in community mental health. And they had drug problems also. Like, that was the thing. But yeah, I think I've gotten deeper. I still use it and some clients don't want deep, right?
Right.
Some clients just want to improve a behavior
Exactly.
of their life.
And that's what it's good for.
Yeah, it's really good for them.
Yeah, and some clients will come in and say like, I need to figure out a coping skill for this specific thing, and CBT's great for that.
Right. And I would say also I've gotten much more into couples therapy later in my career. I probably wouldn't have been divorced a few times. So being a couples therapist back then wouldn't have probably went well. You know what I mean? It wasn't until after my last divorce that I started getting into couples therapy. And I think.
Yeah. And you know what? I think I haven't changed so much who you see your client. Who I see since then, but it sounds like, Liz, you weren't like, you never really thought you were going to specialize in DID and you didn't think you were going to go into couples therapy. So that will change your approach.
If I am a young therapist, I just graduated 6 years ago. So in my career, I've really only been in the field for the last 6 to 7 years. I might still change maybe in another 7 years.
For sure.
And I'm always reading stuff that's related to therapy also. And I think that changes me, like not a huge change, but incrementally. Like incremental changes.
Because we have to. I think because we're all like evolving and changing and the world is so different and
growing, healing.
Yeah. And I would bet, Mel, you have changed some. Like if we found one of your first couples clients and we had your current couple clients, that they would see you differently a little bit, at least.
Yeah.
I think we're all changing.
Right. I think I have evolved and grown, but have kind of stuck to the, like the foundation. But I think I'm definitely a much better therapist now than I was maybe 12 years ago.
Right.
I would hope. Or maybe I was just that great 12 years ago and I'm just
Is that the narcissist?
You've just always been amazing.
Yeah, always.
I've just always been an amazing therapist and no change was ever necessary.
Ever.
Excellent.
Yeah. No, but I think I have grown and evolved a little bit.
A little bit.
You really want to call me a narcissist?
I did call you. You didn't hear me. I said you're
definitely
narcissist.
Did.
I called you narcissist.
100%.
Yeah.
She will make sure that it stands out on the final.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna like higher the volume on that one.
We have time for one more.
We have time for one more.
Okay. Quick answer. Speed bonus round. Okay. I just want to say, Stephanie, you do not have free will. That's it.
That's the only.
That's the answer.
Steph's question was that Barry left them hanging in a class that he taught, and at the end he said, "Do we have free will?" And that he broke them.
Right.
He left them hanging.
She wanted a final.
She wanted your final answer.
The final answer is, Stephanie, you do not have free will. Just you.
But okay, fine. But give us like a little bit. Why not?
Oh, come on.
Just a little bit. We have 3 minutes.
I think the amount of stuff I've read and listened to indicates we are much more controlled by our environment than we would like to believe. So
then who's controlling us?
the environment, whatever the environment is,
Like
a lot of
society?
my,
Yeah.
no, like each other. In this podcast, I might have thought I came up with a certain answer or question, but it was actually
Influence.
it was 100% influenced by you guys and what you said and what it reminded me of, and like that's kind of the idea. So a really good book I read about that is called Incognito by Eagleman. That's his last name. I think it's David, but I could be wrong about his first name. Eagleman. Incognito. He puts forth the case that we probably don't have that much free will. And that I guess my final answer to Stephanie, who asked the question, right, is we are probably 90-ish% controlled. Like,
that's a lot.
Like, and we have about 10% free will. And the more you become self-aware, the more you can enact free will. But it's like, I think the real answer is, where do you draw the line with free will? You know, where am I drawing?
Yeah,
the
like,
line?
are we talking about free will, like even in terms of like religion and God?
Well,
we can,
I wasn't.
I know, but I'm saying you could.
I was making 100% psychology.
No, I know, but I know that. But I'm saying, like, this can go like a lot of ways with free will.
But I did not have free will with religion. No way. I am.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll end it on this note.
Pull her plug.
We'll end it on this note.
Abort. What are we doing?
No, but just to make the point,
Right,
I am.
Mel has to make the point.
No, I'm going to end it on this note. I am Catholic. I love God and Jesus, but that was completely influenced with the family that I was born into. So, you know what? I agree. There's no free will, people.
Okay. I think we have some. Like, okay, one of my colleagues, one of my best friends, read the book after I read it. I think, like, I recommended. I was highly recommending it, and she was like, "Why would you recommend this book to me? It basically says that as therapists, what are we doing? We're doing nothing, right? Because they don't have free will, but we do. Like, the idea is, like, when you learn something that affects the behavior, right? So
yeah.
So the environment is creating new pathways for me to behave.
But aren't I choosing what I'm reading, and isn't that free will?
No, because the environment.
You gave me a book.
And you didn't read it.
I am reading it just slowly.
Oh,
but I'm
the murdering book? Oh,
Right.
You're reading not the... She's reading a book.
I'm not reading the book about death. I'm reading a book about murdering your husband.
Oh. But you're a happily married person.
I am. I'm. You have thoughts about murdering your neighbor.
Yeah, but I don't claim to like her.
I never said I didn't like my husband and I was going to murder him. I just said I enjoy books about people murdering other people.
I thought the next podcast was going to be the one where we got in trouble, but it's going to be this one.
I think every podcast gets us in trouble. Yeah,
runs the risk.
Our podcasts just
living on the edge
are risky. Ooh, like my last name. It means risk in Spanish.
It means what?
Riesgo means risk in Spanish.
Oh,
appropriate.
Okay, and that leads us to the end of this episode. And that's a wrap for this episode.
Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for all the questions. Seriously.
Yes. Seriously.
Keep them coming.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening to another episode. I'm your host, Liz.
And I'm your other host, Mel.
And I'm Barry.
The other host.
The other host.
Sometimes called Will.
And that's it for today's episode of Therapize. If you laughed, cried, or had a minor existential crisis, then same. Make sure to follow, subscribe, leave a review, or text your therapist about us. Again, we're not them. New episodes drop monthly-ish, depending on our schedules, moods, and general mental stability. Until next time, take care of yourself, hydrate, and if you're in Florida, then yeah, consider this fate.